Hi Simpson College, my name's Nick Roth. I'm an author-illustrator based here in Des Moines, Iowa, and I want to talk to you about the gallery show that I've put on here at your college in the Farnham building. Let's talk about the process that goes into making the artwork. We'll talk a little bit about working with a publisher and what it takes to be a commercial artist in the real world. So the first step of making an illustration like this is coming up with an idea. Oftentimes you're given a prompt from maybe your publisher or your teacher, and from there you can start to research. I think the best thing to do is just ask yourself, like, what am I actually interested in about this subject? What do I find myself talking to my friends about? For me, it was like how busy the markets are and just the hustle and bustle and all the different kinds of people, and so that was the inspiration for this piece, and I kind of put my own spin on it and introduced a bunch of different elements from Nepal, like the pagoda, the Buddha statues, and just trying to incorporate as much about Nepal as I can to celebrate their culture. Find what you're excited about and go with that, because the best illustrations come from an idea that you love. The next step is drawing the piece. Oftentimes I start in a little sketchbook. It's just a 6x9 cheapo sketchbook, and then I take a picture of that sketch with my iPhone and bring it in to Photoshop. Your publisher or your teacher, they might want to know where your final art is headed. So the sketch process is all about making sure that the people you're working with understand where you're headed. At that point, I'll get feedback, hey, we love it, hey, we don't like this part of it, can you make some changes? And from there, I get the green light to produce the final art. I refine that sketch and I start to create what's called an underdrawing. So the underdrawing is a refined version of that first sketch. The idea starts really rough, and then through making the underdrawing, I'm creating the structure of what will become the ink drawing. So once the inks are done and everything is really sharp, I've traced it and created an ink drawing. So it's 3 steps: sketch, underdrawing, and ink. Once all that's done, the coloring begins. Coloring takes a long time. I create many layers in Photoshop. I might make the background on a layer, I might make the foreground character on a layer. That way I can go back and make tons of changes later. From the sketch to the underdrawing to the ink process to coloring, that's what goes into making an illustration like this. So once the artwork's complete, it's just a matter of sending that off to the publisher, and then they take it to print. So now that we have had a chance to talk about the process of making the art, let's just talk about the art itself. So this piece is a spot the difference activity. Each piece that I do for Faces magazine is an activity. So I get to pick that activity and design it. Each of these 30 by 40 pieces is a blown up version of a search and find, or a spot the difference, or other kinds of activities that end up on the backside of Faces magazine. If you look closely, you can spot Eyeball Man, who is in most of my artwork, so you'll have to look out for him. This piece was about Nollywood, which is a thriving film industry in Nigeria. This is a really fun piece, but let's keep moving. So this piece was based off the prompt Brazil. They had an entire issue about Brazil, and I chose to do a hidden objects piece. So you have to go through and find all the frogs. What I like most about this piece are the characters in it. I wasn't excited about drawing this until I drew the toucan character, and then I just really fell in love with the whole process because they're very cute, and it was just fun creating a little village of toucans. So this one is based off the prompt chocolate. The publisher had the entire magazine based off chocolate. So I got to research and watch a ton of YouTube videos, learn about what goes into making chocolate. I love this character design. I think it turned out very cute. They actually did start as kittens, but just while I was drawing, it just felt right to have pandas for some reason. So yeah, this activity turned out to be a word scrambler, and the reader was set to unscramble each word that corresponds to the part of the process in making chocolate. I love the little panda who says, "Come on." Sometimes there's a little story with these little characters. I'm pretty sure he owns the factory. He just looks like a really quaint, down to earth, good to his employees owner of the chocolate factory. So this one was a lot of fun to make. I got to design a character that lives on the surface of the sun. I used Egyptian elements for their architecture, and just had a lot of fun with these characters that have a very healthy relationship with fire. So outside of magazines, I also write and illustrate my own books. I've produced a children's book, web comics, graphic novels, it's all good. This one is a web comic that I did 60 episodes of called Beaten Panda. It's a buddy comedy with two characters that live together that are very, very different. So you've got Beat, who's like a neurotic, worried about his health all the time, like just very concerned. And you've got Panda, who's very relaxed and rich and doesn't have to work. I learned so much about writing characters. You can check it out too. It's on webtoons.com. Look up Beaten Panda. This piece is called Big Puppet. It's based off a real puppetry company in France, and they make these giant puppets that are operated by people. Look it up on YouTube, it's really cool. I had so much fun creating all these little characters in the crowd. If you look close, you can find a couple people who are lovers, you can find Albert Einstein, there's like a Cyclops in there. I wish I had more time to talk about all the pieces in the gallery, but this will be our last one. The prompt was food, so I decided to bring the food to life and use the setting of Greenwich Village. There's so much to look at here. There's a salt and pepper shaker that are in love with each other, a pretzel lady who I think is a little crazy, and a bunch of cookies that are hidden items that you have to find all 15 of them, thus the activity for the magazine. Anyway, I just want to thank everyone who has allowed me to do this. I want to thank Simpson College, I want to thank Faces Magazine, my art directors, John Sanford and Nicole Welsh. I feel like I'm giving an Emmy speech, okay? But I do want to acknowledge you guys because it does take a lot of people to make stuff like this happen. So thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed this.